Attention, please. My name is Meg Pelletier, and I am the Vice President of the Newmarket Business Association, and I am here to moderate your candidates night tonight. I ask that everybody be respectful of each other's opinions. The fact that we do have opinions different than other people around us tells us that, yes, we are able to live in a free country. So with that said, I would like to start out with the Pledge of Allegiance. Can we all stand, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please remember, our seniors are here with their great bake sale, and if they're anything like my mom or my grandmother, they have great recipes, so make sure you support them and try to help them out. We are going to do this tonight by position, and I would like to start out with the treasurer's position. And what we will do is we will invite anybody that is running for treasurer to please come up, if you're here at all. And you are allowed to ask the question, and each candidate will be given 2 minutes to answer that particular question. So anybody running for treasurer, if you'd like to come up? Nobody here? Going once, going twice? Gone. Okay. Trustees of the trust funds, if there is anybody running for trustees of the trust funds, if you'd like to come forward. Planning board, anybody planning on running for planning board, please come forward. Hello. And are there any questions for any members of the planning board? And if you do have a question, just please step up to the microphone here, and it will be answered by all the candidates. Wow, quiet crowd
Are we
tonight.
doing that good of a job? Thank you.
Big round of applause for the planning board.
For people who may not know me, I'm Val Shelton. I've been a resident here for many years, third generation. I do appreciate your vote and support for the planning board. Thank you.
Hi, and my name is Elizabeth Dudley. I have not been here anywhere near that long, but I have been here for 5 years, and I embrace the town, and I have training in landscape architecture, which I hope will contribute to the team. I enjoy working with the board members as an alternate since January, and I would appreciate your support as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me. Yes. Yes, sir. Do you have a question for the, oh, can you come back? Just step right up to the microphone here, and your name and your address.
6 Washington Street, and I guess my question would be, what do you see as your the most important aspect of your job in terms of the future of Newmarket?
Okay. Well, go ahead, Beth.
Well, under the state RSAs, the planning board is actually charged with assisting applicants or landowners in the town with their permitting process relative to what is allowed with the zoning regulations, site plan, and subdivision regulations. So our role is to ensure that those applications meet the regulations that are in effect at that time. In an advisory position, the planning board is charged with assisting the council with the development and updating of the master plan, which is really kind of the roadmap for the town relative to the development of regulations to achieve the goals of that master plan. So our secondary role is to ensure that our regulations that are in effect for zoning really are representative for where the longer-term planning of the town is. My personal position would be relative to seeing our job as trying to increase the tax base in a positive direction for the town to, assist with the offset of the increase in municipal services and educational services that we offer.
And I view the position as important as Val has expressed. It's really not something where we set out to make goals for the town, but we judge projects that are before us against what the town documents have already said, and we try to make the best match we can between the documents and the projects so that we ensure the best future we can for land use in the area.
Are there any further questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Town moderator, anybody running for town moderator, if you'd like to step up now? Nobody from town moderator? Okay. Budget committee, anybody for the budget committee, if you'd like to step up now? One and only? One and only, okay.
I do have a compatriot.
Not here today? You'd just like to do a quick introduction of
yeah.
yourself?
I am Judith Ryan. I have served on the budget committee this last year as filling out someone else's term. I found it a very enlightening and exciting position. We are facing some really tough decisions and tough times ahead of us. But I think we can move through that as we look to the future. I feel that we can't just react, we have to be proactive in our budget decisions. There are challenges, as every one of us feel today, as the bills come in and the checks go out. And sometimes they don't go out quite on time. But I feel that the Budget Committee in this town is one of the important committees that represent the people and their concerns regarding the bottom line, and the bottom line is the tax rate. So I thoroughly enjoyed the 8 months that I served on the committee, and I am looking forward for your endorsement to continue that for a 3-year term.
Okay, are there any questions on the budget?
No.
No questions, okay. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Meg.
School committee, are there any members of the school committee here? No? Not on the list, but I thought I'd mention them. Okay. Town council? Members of the town council?
Okay.
We won't bite.
There we go.
Okay, I'll sit back in. Here you go, sir, come on. Get another chair. No.
Yeah, we can, yeah, just squeeze in, just squeeze in.
I'll just step back.
I think there's a message being sent. Yeah, buy more chairs.
Buy more chairs. Okay. There's a question.
That's good, then we can see.
Okay, if Roseanne, if you could start, introduce yourself, brief introduction, and then just go on down the line
Glad
to
to
this
see
side.
such a great turnout. My name is Roseanne Cox. I am a detail person, and as such, it may be difficult for some folks to be comfortable with my need for what seems to be a lot of information. I do believe that if you take care of the little things, the big things will take care of themselves. Now, make no mistake, that does not mean that I'm ignoring the larger issues. It does mean that while I may seem overly analytical, which can sometimes be mistaken for being argumentative, I am just making sure, to the best of my ability, that the actions taken in the name of the people in Newmarket will produce the outcome we desire. In public service, I've always sought to do the right thing, and in the process bumped heads with some along the way. Above all, you can count on me to be honest with you. It's a character trait that has been costly to me in a public life, but I will not abandon it. A bright future for Newmarket will not come as the result of a series of hopeful accidents of fate. It will be the result of good government and an active and involved citizenry. I am seeking a seat in the Newmarket Town Council, and I ask you to vote for me on Election Day. I'd also like to let you know that I have been a resident of Newmarket for 16 years. I've served on the Conservation Commission, former owner of a business in town, former member of the Newmarket Business Association, was on the Planning Board for 4 years, served 3 years in the Town Council, was on Newmarket Zoning Board of Adjustment for 4 years, and I am currently on the Budget Committee. And hopefully I look forward to serving you in the future. Thank you.
My name is Dan Wright. I'm 53 years old. I've been a resident of Newmarket for 14 years now. I have a BS, a Bachelor of Science in Marine Engineering. That's from Massachusetts Maritime Academy. And I'm a retired chief engineer. I was a seagoing engineer on a container ship, and I did that for 25 years. And right now, I'm a small business owner. I put up a building 3 years ago at 60 Exeter Road. It's right across from the Wentworth Douglas Hospital. And when I was looking for a place to put a building up, there are many towns we looked at. We looked at Stratham, we looked at Exeter, and we looked at Durham. And we just found that Newmarket was a great place that had a lot of potential out there. So we decided it was a very difficult process to go through. I've never built a building before. There are a lot of obstacles you had to overcome, but we decided to go ahead and take the challenge, and it's been very successful. And that business park up there is, I think, what this town really needs. There are 2 buildings up there now, mine, Wentworth Douglas, 2 empty lots, and presently they're trying to develop the first lot there. There's a value of the property taxes close to $76,000 a year, and that's with 2 buildings. Just think, if we get 2 other buildings up there, what we can bring to this town. But you have to understand, every time you're raising the taxes, you're hurting the businessman, because either he has to pass that on to the tenants or he has to eat it. And presently, with the market being so tight and so bad, I have to eat that. Well, I'd like to see in Newmarket more professional buildings. Get the people to come to Newmarket, get them to work, instead of just driving through Market, get the people to stop and spend their money. And I'm looking for your vote. I can promise you a lot of things, but I will promise you integrity, honesty, and logical thinking. Thank you very much for your time.
Hi, everyone. My name is Phil Nazzaro. I'm a 10-year resident of Newmarket. I've been here since, I've been a resident since 2001. I'm a 1998 graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point. I'm a 10-year Army veteran, to include a tour in Afghanistan as a company commander. Since I got out of the military, I've been employed at, I was employed at a private sector consulting company that did a lot of work in the public sector, mainly the federal government. And I currently am employed at Teach for America, which is a national nonprofit that is looking to end educational inequity in this country. I'm running because I believe Newmarket's truly at a crossroads right now. Newmarket has a choice. We can maintain ourselves as a bedroom community and continue to grow as a bedroom community, or we can look to try to stimulate this economy with inside of our own town and encourage business to grow inside this town, encourage the right business that maintains the culture and uniqueness of our town. Newmarket's my chosen home. I'm a 93 graduate of Oyster River High School, so I could have gone anywhere when I got out of the Army, and I chose to come to Newmarket. It's because of the quaint New England feeling that you get when you come to Newmarket. I love that. I love the fact that you can walk down the street with a dog and wave at people you know. So I want to maintain that sense of hometown and New England that Newmarket has, but at the same time, I want to encourage business to come into this town to relieve that pressure that taxpayers are feeling. As a property owner, I'm feeling it too, and I want to help relieve that burden on all of us. So ask for your vote on May 10th. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is, excuse me, my name is Gary Levy. I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight, as well as the other candidates. I've been living in Newmarket for 27 years and expect to happily spend the rest of my life here. I don't want to live anywhere else. I consider Newmarket a great place to live. I'd like to give something back, and that's why I'm running for town council, and I would appreciate people's support. I grew up in Portsmouth and graduated from UNH in 1981. I became one of only 3 employees in our family retail store, State Street Discount. Over the years, State Street has grown into one of the largest single-store independent retailers in New England. As a local businessman, one of the most important lessons I've learned is that you have to listen to the people that you serve as well as your employees, or they will not stay with you. And I can promise people that I will listen to them. My record of public service includes the Governor's Efficiency Commission, which was, I was voted as a vice chair to analyze state procurement policies and procedures. I was a member of the Pease Development Authority Board of Directors, as well as having served as chair of the Newmarket Black Bear TIF Committee and the Elderly Housing Committee. I would like to be a part of Newmarket's next phase of positive growth and help to build a town that we can be proud of that affords its citizens a prosperous environment without endangering our small-town New England charm. I believe that the changes that take place here in Newmarket must be the result of an open and thoroughly transparent process. I believe that Newmarket voters have the right to hear the details of the business that is conducted in their name. I've heard expressions of concern about runaway taxes from residents who fear they won't be able to afford rising taxes in the future and may be forced from their homes. My long experience in a very competitive business and being able to survive and succeed when many of my competitors have had to close their doors has given me a unique and valuable understanding of how to prioritize and make solid business decisions. I am ready to devote my time and effort to the work of the Newmarket Town Council and the interests of the taxpayers of Newmarket. And I'm asking you to vote for me, Gary Levy, on Election Day. Thank you very much.
Okay.
First, I would like to thank the Newmarket Business Association for sponsoring this event. It's an annual event that's certainly one that's needed to do each year, and I thank you again for that. My name is Larry Pickering. I am a 56-year resident of Newmarket, married, one daughter, grown up. I live out on Ash Swamp Road, have been there for 28 years, built the house, a Newmarket High School graduate. I have served on many boards in Newmarket, happily. 10 years on the Budget Committee. I've served 2 3-year terms on the Newmarket Town Council. I have served as Town Moderator. I have served on the Economic Development Committee. I'm a founding member of the Newmarket Ambulance Corps that I am very proud of. That's probably one of my most proudest things that I have been involved in. I served only 7 years. Many of my friends served upwards of 25 years, but that always holds a special place in my heart. I am very proud also of when I served on the council of the 2 TIF committees that were brought forth, and as we are all seeing now, the downtown TIF committee is paying off with big dividends. It'll be even bigger in the future as the mills are filled, and this additional tax money goes into the general fund for the benefit of our expansion of our tax base. Up until this point, it hadn't been used for that. It was capturing money to pay off the bond. It's been so successful, it's already captured enough money to pay off the entire indebtedness. We can't pay it off in a one-time payment. Matter of fact, this year, you're being asked to, on one of the warrant articles, to expend the money, but it'll be paid off in payments each and every year until the indebtedness has been paid off. But we do have the money sitting there, so that was a tremendous success, and I think how it'll help each and every individual taxpayer in Newmarket is if the money that does come from there in the future gets spent prudently. And I think we all need to watch how that money is being spent. You can have a pot of money, but if you're just spending it not wisely, it's no good. So we all know what we're facing at the gas pumps today. We all know what insurance costs. I mean, we're just getting hit everywhere, so we have to be very careful with our spending. Another thing that I would like to elaborate on would be Article 8. Back in 1998, when this Black Bear TIF was brought forth to the population of Newmarket, there were many meetings all over town, and at Town Hall, people went out to various clubs, the Polish Club, the Legion, and promoted both the TIF districts. When the dust settled and the people came out to vote, it was a nearly 90% positive vote for this TIF situation. That was in 1998, and I realize not a lot has been done since then. I think more of the focus has been on the downtown. The downtown has now successfully been completed, the revitalization, and now I think we need to place a lot of emphasis on getting that Black Bear up and running. So I certainly would never support Article 8 as being proposed on the warrant, and I would hope that many of you will think about that and also not support that. It's not in the best interest for the majority of the citizens in this community. I'm asking you for my vote. I'll work very hard for you, as I have in the past on my 2 terms that I have spent. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for coming tonight. My name is Ed Carmichael. I'm a 20-year resident of Newmarket. I'm married with 4 grown children and 10 grandchildren. My education was a BS degree in business management from Franklin Pierce College. I just retired recently, and I was a regional sales manager in the food service industry for 35 years. Dealing with budgets, projections, goals, and analyzing data. Also working with people of various levels and capacities in decision-making. I've been affiliated with the Exeter Area Kiwanis Club for over 20 years, fundraisers. We've given to Big Brother, Big Sisters, Head Start here in town, turkeys giving to the unfortunate people. Also been on fundraising for the Elks Club for 30-something years. Being newly retired, I am ready, willing, and able to step in and work for the people of Newmarket. I have a desire to serve this community, and now I have the available time to do so. I am committed to balancing both the needs and the wants of the community while keeping the budget in check. I have seen positive growth in the town and would like to be part of the next phase. I don't have a personal agenda. I'm new. I'm running the first base, but I have knowledge from the business world. And I've watched a lot of TV and watched a lot of the council people and budget committees, and I think they all do a great job. I'd like to be part of that. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Fred McManaman, but please call me Rick. I've served on the Budget Committee, trustees of the Trust Fund, the Planning Board, the CIP Committee, the Downtown TIF, and the Stratford Regional Planning Commission, where I represent Newmarket. My background is in banking and financial and securities industry for over 30 years. I was also an attorney before I retired, and I am also a veteran. I want to serve the residents of Newmarket as town councilor because I believe I can help reduce taxes, cut excess spending, and try to find a way to bring new businesses into Newmarket that will benefit all residents. The state and federal governments are tightening their belts. Gas prices are going higher. I think it's time we step up and step back and think about our residents. Thank you, and please consider me with your vote.
Hi, my name is John Bentley. I've lived here my entire life, which is 46 years, and proud to say that I can trace back at least 8 generations of my family living in Newmarket. Although most of my time was spent at school and rec, I was a varsity basketball coach for 7 years and coached a lot of rec sports. Have been lucky enough for the last 11 months to serve on the town council. Two of the personal accomplishments in the last 11 months I'm proudest of during my tenure is I haven't missed a council meeting yet, and I take the job very seriously. And I followed up on every single email, phone call, personal visit I've had with residents when an action was requested of me, of which over this last year there were many. I believe we currently have a council that works well together, and I would like to think I'm partly responsible for that. I feel I've been approachable and that I have worked with a high degree of professionalism with my fellow councilors, departments, committees, and residents that I've been fortunate enough to deal with over the past year. I believe my experience this past year, coupled with my business experience, working with unions, union contracts, budgets, HR issues, has and will continue to enable me to be an effective counselor. My goals are going forward, if I were to be elected, keep tax rates as low as possible without sacrificing quality services, to help bring closure to many of the major decisions we need to make shortly here, water supply, sewer plant, dam repair and/or removal, and the Black Bear TIF, to sell or lease the properties the previous administrators and councils chose to purchase that are now benefiting no one. The Wilson property, Exeter Street property, we have some substantial properties that are just sitting there, not generating any tax dollars. I think we need to do something with them, sell them, lease them, use them, and they're just sitting there right now. No one here was responsible for those decisions. And fourth goal is to continue to be an ear and voice for the town residents. So thank you for your time and your consideration.
Good evening, and thank you for coming to tonight's Candidates Night. My name is Jim Bergeron. I'm a 21-year resident of Newmarket. I am married, and I have 2 teenage sons. I'm a current town councilor. I've been on the council for 3 years now, and I'm also a member of the Newmarket Conservation Commission. I'm a senior electrician at Seabrook Station, and I've been there for quite a few years now. I love my town, and I'm proud to say I'm a Newmarket resident. I decided to run for town council 3 years ago for 2 reasons. First, I felt that everyone, if they are able, should be giving back something to their community, and thank you for everyone up here for doing that as well, or at least attempting to. Second, I didn't like the direction of the town council at the time. I didn't feel that they were focused on important issues, that there were too many personal agendas, and that the council did not work well together. Perhaps you can remember that time. I still do. Today's council is completely different. I am proud of the council and what it is doing for Newmarket. I now feel that we are focused, that we are making headway on important issues, and that we can work together well, constructively, even though we don't always agree. Recent successes of the council include overseeing the completion of the reconstruction downtown project, successfully negotiating with a developer to develop our downtown mills, and by being fiscally conservative with our expenditures, we have been able to keep our town budget flat for the last 2 cycles. We are working diligently to increase our drinking water sources and upgrade our sewer treatment plant also, if necessary. I urge you to carefully consider your choices for town council. Past work, experience, and credentials are certainly important for choosing a candidate. But just as important, the candidate should be logical, unbiased, fair, and have the ability to work constructively with others. I feel that I have those qualifications. I've got 3 years of experience now on how our town government works. I feel that I have a good working relationship with my fellow councilors. It's hard work, but I'm ready to continue to serve you. I'm asking you to please vote for me for town council. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we start with the questioning, would the people in the hallway want to come in, or do they want to hang in the hallway? There's some room in here if you'd like to come through. Okay. As I said before, one person at a time, just step up to the microphone, and you can ask your question. And each person running for council will be allowed 2 minutes. Would you like a 15-minute warning when your time is running out? And each person will answer the question. We'll alternate the starting. Roseanne, if you'd start, and then the next set of questions, Dan, if you could start, and so on down the line. Okay. And
don't
name
really
and address, and then we're all set.
2 minutes. I would just like to know how each person next week would personally vote on Article 8, yes or no.
Okay.
Marion Bastani, 1 Osprey Lane.
Okay, thank you.
I would vote yes.
I would vote yes.
I would vote no.
I would vote yes, and can we not elaborate?
You got 2 minutes.
The reason I would vote yes is because I'm here tonight to ask the people of this community to consider voting for me. And I trust the citizens of this town to make that decision, and I hope they vote for me, but I will respect them if they do not. I think when a town is looking to bond $3.25 million, and it's going to potentially put the town in the red, I think the people of this community should have the ability to weigh in on the types of businesses and whether or not they are the types of businesses that should be coming to this town. Now, I can speak to one business specifically, Boise Cascade. They looked to come to Newmarket when I was the chair of the TIF committee. And before we even had any information regarding this company, there were people talking about breaking ground. And I'm not talking about people throughout the community. I'm talking about people in the administration and some counselors. And I certainly didn't feel comfortable without getting some information. So we hired a consultant. We ran the numbers. The numbers, had we gone ahead with that deal, could have potentially put the town in the red between $3 and $4 million. And obviously that didn't happen. So, you know, I look at the types of businesses that have come to that area. Celestica looked, I believe, back in 1998. They went to Pease. They left. After Celestica, there was a dead zone. And then there was the housing idea, high-density workforce housing. After the housing idea, there was the New Jersey garbage facility. By the way, several councilors on that, who were on the town council then, actually went to New Jersey to take a look at that facility. So this was not pie in the sky, we don't want garbage. After that came down, then we had the Boise deal.
Gary, time.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay.
Maybe another question.
A big no.
Yes. And let me just say why. I'm totally for additional commercial development in town to bolster the tax base. My whole thing is I was on the hedge on this one, but if you're going to put me under the gun, I have to say yes tonight. Why not let such an important decision, instead of having smokestacks up in the air and having 5 or 6 gentlemen here that are qualified to make decisions, but this is a big one for the town to move on into the next phase. So I say, let you, the voters, make the decision.
I would vote no, and my reasoning is this. I think that, you know, we're taking some of the things that happened in the past, and I understand that, but how I think we should approach it is saying to the Black Bear TIF and to the council, these are the kind of businesses I'd like to have come into the community, not the carting, et cetera, type of business. That's not the kind of business we want in Newmarket. To take away the funding, the bonding, I think you're cutting off an arm, and I just don't agree with that.
I'd vote no, and that's the first time, I'm glad Mr. Levy brought it up, it's the first time we've heard Celestica mentioned. I think there's a lot of scare tactics that have been used in the papers and in some meetings. Celestica is one of the companies, a very fine company that was looking to come here, but people were focusing on some other ones and some misinformation on how many trucks a day. I was at the meeting and it wasn't 100 trucks a day. The number was 20 trucks a day, and anyone else that sat in the meeting will tell you that. Secondly, the town still has a vote. We can't, 7 councilors don't decide there's a bubblegum factory going there or there's a Six Flags going there. It still has to come back to the town. It's just the council has the rescinding, the bonding authority. So it's not a done deal. The 7 of us don't decide what's coming here. It still has to be approved by the town. And lastly, just remember the TIF committee, the people that are the experts, and I'm far from an expert a year. I've tried to get my hands around this and understand the last 13 years there. Voted 4-1 against this. So just keep that in mind. The people that I trust are the experts voted 4-1. Thank you.
I would vote no as well, for pretty much the same reasons.
Thank you.
Am I allowed to ask an individual candidate a question?
You can, but they'll all answer it.
Roseanne, are you still in litigation against the town?
Yes, I am.
If you become a council person, are you going to stop litigation against the town?
I will stop litigation when the town is no longer doing things improperly.
Do you find it a conflict of interest that you might be getting a stipend from the town to be a councilman and using taxpayer money via a lawyer to pay for litigation?
No.
Okay, and,
My other question is,
Yeah.
it's actually for everyone.
okay,
I just wanted that out in the public, that she's still in litigation with the town.
okay.
It's as far as warrant Article 8 goes. For everyone, if it does get rescinded, do you feel that we still need to have a Black Bear TIF committee?
Dan?
Because once the article is, if it is passed that way, do we have to actually have a representation of that area, yes or no? I want to know how your feelings are on that.
Okay, Dan, want to start?
Absolutely, because I said, just because the bond's going to be rescinded, why would you give up a valuable asset like that? My feeling is, it's an important decision, very, very important decision. I don't want to see infrastructure spent and then hoping, a gamble, that someone will come and look at it. If it should be developed, maybe the town shouldn't be involved. Maybe get a private developer in there that has the wares, the means, and do it right. But let's face it, all that money for infrastructure, I want to see a business plan laid down in writing saying, this money will be spent and we can get some return on our value. So the TIF should still be there. I'm not sure how often they meet, but let the taxpayers have a say in it. Just don't go out there with all this money and start building infrastructure unless you have something solid that's going to benefit the town.
But if the bond is rescinded, there is no money.
You can go back to the voters.
It's just a group of people getting together, shooting the breeze.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
If it's rescinded, then I agree, sir. What is the purpose of having them meet? Now, I strongly believe that it shouldn't be. I believe we need to be doing everything we can to bring business in. I don't agree with Mr. Levy when he says that the people would not have a vote if the TIF is not rescinded, because I believe they do have a vote through the council that they elect, through the planning board that they elect. The individuals you choose will be your elected officials. So your voice is through them. It's how democracy works. So I firmly believe that everyone in this room and in this town should have a vote in this, and they do have a vote for where they want to see Newmarket go in the future, in this election. That we can either continue having Atlas be the property owners holding the world on their shoulders of this town, or we do whatever we can to try to bring in business that is consistent with the heritage of this town and will bring some relief to the property owners and the renters who end up having high rent through the increased taxes. So that's how I feel. Thank you.
Okay, a few misconceptions. As far as the TIF committee going away, the TIF committee would not go away. if the bond is rescinded and it goes to the voters will absolutely be able to weigh in, and if there's a business that has a business plan on the table and the TIF committee makes a recommendation, the recommendation would then go to the voters of this town. Despite all the statements to the contrary to this, it is not that difficult to have a special town meeting. It happens all the time. There's a very, very high percentage, in the 95% range. I call some friends at Pease that I still deal with and know. They told me it would not be a problem for the town to get a special meeting. And I guess my question to the candidates that don't want to vote for warrant Article 8, why don't they trust the voters? I personally don't understand that. I mean, if the voters of this town can't weigh in on a bond of $3 million plus, I don't understand what anybody's afraid of. The TIF committee does not go away. The council can do the analysis, and then it goes to the people of this town. And just to finish up, if the council wants to go ahead with a company that's going to bring in X amount of dollars, and it was a recycling plan, et cetera, you're going to have that. If it meets the criteria of the planning board, that is what we will get. So if the voters of this town want it, I'm fine. If they don't want it, I'm fine with that. But I do not think it should be in the hands of the few. So that I trust the voters on this. Thank you.
I also echo what Mr. Levy said about trusting the voters. I trusted them back in 1998 when almost 90% of them said, yes, we want this to happen. This town, if you look at it, there's really not a lot of place to set up shop to have a business. We've done a super job downtown, and that's the end of that. Once it's fully built out, there's no other place to put someone in Newmarket, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe a little bit of area up on Route 152, but we need to have an area to invite businesses in, and we also need to support and help these people to get in there. They're not just going to come here because, oh, we love Newmarket. Newmarket has to work in conjunction and in cooperation with businesses that may want to land here. So to have a committee without the bonding authority, I don't know. It's ludicrous to me, but yes, I suppose it could still happen.
Madam Chair, could the candidates please repeat their names?
Sure. Okay. Would you repeat your names as you answer, and it's your turn, sir?
Oh,
yep.
Ed Carmichael. 2 Moody Point Drive, Newmarket. I agree with what both Larry, my good friend Larry, Larry and Gary. I agree, as I said in my other statement, is that we do need some commercial business in this town. I want the voters to make the choice. That's completely up to you.
Okay, Rick.
Hi, Rick McMenamin. You know, when you're talking to business leaders, people who run companies, the first thing they're going to ask you is, well, how can you help me? And if you don't have something you can bring to the table, then they don't want to talk to you. They want to know that you're standing up for a commitment. Now, once that's said, I'll go back to what I said before. Nothing's going to happen without a vote from the town council. Secondly, the town council has to hold a meeting to get the people involved, to hear the vote of the people. And at that point in time, when all is heard and said, that's when a decision can be made. As I say, I'm against Article 8. I would vote no on it, I should say.
John Bentley, Mr. Foster stumped me here because, like I said, the one thing I haven't got my hands around in the last 11 months is this whole TIF. I still don't quite understand all the intricacies of it.
if it was rescinded and was not there, I would think there needs to be something. Is it the planning board, the zoning board, a different committee, and they're not called the TIF committee? I think it's certainly, I agree with Mr. Pickering, that there's very few areas, any land left that are viable places to put in there. Yes, we have the crossing issue, and we have some other issues, so certainly if this was rescinded, I think there needs to be some other group, whether under the direction of the council or another committee made up, that has to be spearheading that. Most of us work full-time jobs, and it's not like the council could become the band leaders, real estate sellers, developers, but anyway, I wouldn't support it. And I'm quite sure, and I'll look into it, but I'm pretty sure we were told that the town would have to have a vote. We can't just say, we're putting a water park up there, and the seven of us decide that. And I'll follow up on that and make sure that that's known if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct on that. Thank you.
I too have no problem continuing on with the Black Bear TIF committee. As far as the bonding, for the same reasons, I mean, they're there to give us advice and do the due diligence, and perhaps the town council doesn't always have the same amount of time to put into those issues until they're brought forth to us. But the bonding authority is a tool in our toolbox, and you're taking that away from us if you rescind it. And I disagree in the fact that we can quickly call a town meeting together and have everyone weigh in on a particular business every time they come to us with a proposal. I think that's ludicrous. And I also have to wonder why a lot of these people say they're pro-business, and yet they're taking away this tool for us to allow businesses to come to our community. I find that an odd thing, but thank you. Jim Bergeron, by the way.
I'm John. I'm John. Nice to meet you.
That's it. Okay. Sorry.
May I answer? We did the personal questions for Mr. Foster.
Okay, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes, that's
Hi,
right. I'm
Roseanne
sorry.
Quox, Wally Falls Road. In light of the comments made from the people who would vote no on Article 8, I'd like to let you know that we do have other land available in town that would not cost us $3.25 million to develop. It is the B3 district up off Wadley Falls. It's all the old gravel pits. We would not need to spend that kind of money. I'd also let you know that back in 2004, the town council at the time authorized the current administrator, Mr. Dixon, to purchase the Wilson Farm. There was not enough money in the Black Bear TIF purse at that time, so they used approximately $424,000 out of the general fund money to purchase Exeter Street and the Wilson Farm. As far as what Mr. McMiniman said, that there would be a vote, there would not be a vote. The only vote would be taken by the planning board. If any entity that came before the town went to planning board, the planning board would have the vote, and they could not discriminate against that development. If they met the criteria of the planning board, they would have to be approved, and the town would be stuck with whatever the planning board approved, because they are limited. They can't just say, we don't want you in town. And the Black Bear TIF could be a positive entity, but when you look at the types of proposed developments that have been brought to the town and how serious the town council has really considered these types of developments, I think that justifies voting yes on Article No to make sure that the taxpayers have the ability to say whether or not we're going to spend $3.25 million on Black Bear TIF. And to Mr. Foster, no, Black Bear TIF cannot go away. 162K, I think it's number 14, states when you have a TIF increment district that you have to have a TIF membership. And I'm even questioning the makeup of the TIF membership as it stands today. And if it wasn't for Mr. Levy being on the chair of that committee at the time, we probably would have had some type of business in Black Bear TIF that would not be conducive to a good tax base for Newmarket. So I hope the public seriously considers voting yes for Article 8. It's very important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Peltier?
Next question, yes.
May I address that?
You had your chance to answer that question, so it's just...
She didn't answer a question. She raised another issue about the current council.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I can only speak of the last...
I thought you were talking about the question.
John Bentley, I can only speak of the last year, Roseanne, but there was only one group that came in the last 11 months that I was there, and when you say you can't believe to the degree that we listened to them, they came in, we listened to them once, we said thank you very much, and we walked away. We didn't act on it, we didn't say let's do it, and I think council, the TIF, whatever group is in charge of this, has to do that due diligence, no matter if it's a balloon factory, a pizza company, a gas station. Like, someone knocks on your door and says, we'd like to come. I didn't know that night until they started talking what they were. We weren't told ahead, it's company ABC. There's a company that's coming, would like to talk to you about it. We sat there and listened, we asked questions, they gave a little presentation, and that was the end of it. So I don't know we said to the degree that we took it seriously. We have to take every single proposal seriously.
Okay.
That's the only one I've been involved in. I can't speak about after 11 months ago.
Go ahead.
Ed Carmichael again. I'd like to speak to that a little bit. As we go back, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it was 1998. 13 years, we've had all these committees. They're coming. We got big hope. All of a sudden, somebody signs a petition for the voters, and on behalf of all the voters, they have the right to vote on something. And all of a sudden, the town council, the planning board, everybody wants to get in on this and say, hey, on the TIF committee voted 4-1. Well, there's been about 3 different replacements, I believe, on that TIF in the last year or so. So I don't buy that. I think we do need, as somebody mentioned up here, we need some structure. Maybe we do have to look at an outside organization. I mean, the way we spend some money around here on consultants and water and everything else, maybe we should look at some other avenues. Thank you.
And the next question would be?
Peg, could I respond to Mr. Bentley, just quickly?
Okay.
Just quickly to let you know, in regards to what Mr. Bentley indicated, the meeting that he alluded to was the meeting that Mr. Foster alluded to, that I am in litigation with the town. He said he had a meeting and that there were developers there. That meeting was not properly posted under 91A, which is the right-to-know law. It was considered a non-meeting, and a non-meeting is when attorney and client, at this time the counsel would be the client and the town attorney would be the attorney. As soon as someone else walks into that room, it is no longer a non-meeting, and it should be posted under 91A. The public didn't know about it. The public didn't know that there were developers talking to our town council. And that is the reason, Mr. Foster, I have litigation, because I want the minutes disclosed, I want them determined as minutes and voted on. Thank you.
Roseanne, you have the minutes. You have the minutes from the person that left that meeting that night and told you everything that happened, number one. So don't be coy. Number two, we went, I'll say it for the 3rd time, we went under the advice of our attorney. I'm not perfect. I made mistakes in my 46 years. Our attorney sat there and advised us that we could sit with the Black Bear TIF committee and these 2 gentlemen that came to spoke to us. Apparently we were in error because there was some little thing about the posting of it or whatever. There was no, the word that's been thrown around has been immoral and unethical, and it's been said several times, and I take great exception because I think the 7 councilors work very hard for the town and try to do the right thing for the town. So let's be careful. We did it under the advice of our lawyer. If you want to question the lawyer, do we have the right lawyer? Did he make a mistake? He did. He's human like the rest of us. That should be let go now.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Cynthia Copeland, and I live at 6 Bay Road, and I'd like to go in a different direction right now.
That's a good thing.
I've heard every candidate up here talk about Newmarket as a quality of life and a quality of place, and I agree. That's why I make Newmarket my home. It's an active choice, and I'm very happy with the choice I made. So, excuse me, I'm getting over a spring cold. So my question is, I'd like to hear your thoughts about, I'm really pleased to hear what you're saying about the tax base and commercial development and bringing businesses in, but I really would like to hear your thoughts about quality of place and quality of life. We have some really good programs in this community. In the recreation programs, we have sidewalks, and we have a lot of bikers and pedestrians and sports teams, and we have a beautiful environment. And so I'd really like to have your thoughts on, in this constrained environment, how are we going to protect the quality of place and the quality of life that we have here in Newmarket? Thank you.
Phil Nazaro. Cynthia, I agree. I think there's an amazing quality of life in Newmarket. As again, as my chosen hometown, I certainly appreciate every element of it. I mean, from the falls to the trees that we have downtown now, it's just a beautiful town, and we absolutely all have a great quality of life here. I think a lot of the recreation that we provide, both for our senior citizens and for our youth, is second to none. I think we certainly need to continue to do that. But we do live in economically constrained times, and we all have hard choices to make. I think that it's a two-pronged approach. One, and I know we've talked a lot about bringing business into the town, but the more business we have, the more revenue we can generate, the more jobs we have in town, and the more that we can provide for our citizenry. You can only do so much with a piece of pie that's so big, so you make the pie bigger. Do everything you can to make the pie bigger. The other thing we have to do is really take a real business aspect look at it and say, what's the return on investment that we're getting for this? When the town wants to invest money in something, be it a recreation or an improvement to the downtown area, what will be the return on that? And I think that every dollar we spend, just like a family right now, as a town, has to be looked at and say, is what we're spending this money on something that's going to benefit the citizenry as a whole and is going to potentially bring more revenue into the town? So.
Well, I think I know something about the quality of life of Newmarket. I walk 6 miles every day with my dog, and my 78-year-old mom drives up from Rye almost every day when it's not raining, because her hair would get bad, and walks with me those 6 miles. And so I love this town. I could have probably gone anywhere, but I wouldn't move from this town for all the money in the world. That's why I put a lot of the land that we bought when we bought the Sawyer Farm into conservation. And I don't want to get back on the business thing, but I do think bringing some business into this town will allow some relief to the taxpayers. We have a lot of expenses. This is a very bad contraction we're in. And I'm going to be very brief on this, but I'll tell you, I sat in the truck when I was 7 in Boston when my parents made pickups, and I was kind of worried that they were going to leave me there, but I guess they needed the truck. And at the end of the day, when I took the business over in '83, I grew it from about $1 million to about 40. And I know what it's like to make a payroll. And I know what it's like to provide 401ks for my people and health insurance and all the other things that you have to do to keep people. And I've had people from 25 years, 20 years, 15 years, and longer. And as far as I'm concerned, I want quality businesses in Newmarket, but I want those businesses to fit into the areas that they're coming. And they need to be appropriate. And I just make one last very quick point. When people talk about a 4-to-1 vote, I was removed from the TIF committee after we ran the numbers. Apparently, people didn't like the numbers, so off I went. And the town was talking about moving very fast with Boise Cascade with no business plan. So the people in this room can hear a certain amount of demagoguing. The fact of the matter is that TIF is not going away. You vote yes, there is no problem with developing that park. And I'm not a gambler, all my money's in T-bills. I promise you that. So that's my feeling on the quality of life and why I'd like to protect it and why I care about this town. Thank you.
Larry Pickering again. The quality of life is second to none here in Newmarket. I think we all realize that. I certainly would have left a long time ago, but I've stayed for 56 years. We have programs that are absolutely phenomenal in Newmarket, including the Recreation Center. Actually, I'm at a point now, I'll be visiting Martha and her group. They've got the Sunrise Sunset Center there that's doing a super job for the community. The Senior Center down here on Beach Street Extension. There are many youth programs at the Recreation Center. And at this time, I can't see how we could possibly add to that list because of the financial difficulties we're all facing. As we all know, the federal government, they get in a pickle, they dump it into the lap of the state gets where they end up sending it to us. And we're going to get a lot more from the state, and we're paying up the gazoo right now, and we're going to be paying more, so we have to watch our spending. As far as adding to the quality of life and the programs we have, I think we certainly can do something like that in the future once the downtown mills are fully filled up and the successful implementation of Blackbeard up there off New Road. Thank you.
Ed Carmichael. I also like the quality of life in Newmarket. Otherwise, my wife and I still wouldn't be here after 21 years. I think I've seen a lot of growth in the last 21 years. When I moved in, they still had the old golf station downtown, didn't have the police station, the Irving, McDonald's, all these quality places that moved in. But I've seen the police department, the fire department grow, new stations, new police officers. I'd say, and I haven't even been inside the fire department, but I praise everybody down there. They do an excellent job. I see these guys coming up and down the streets and screaming up and down there with the lights blaring, and they're off. The last time we had the Warren article in here, there was a fire and bang, about 10 of them left. They were out of here. So a lot of good people in this town, and as Larry said, there's a lot of tough times ahead, difficult times. But if we stay together and really watch our budgets, I believe there's some real good times ahead for Newmarket people.
Rick McMenamin again. I too am going to be at the Sunrise Sunset Center to meet with the younger folks over there and talk to them about whatever they want to talk about. The quality of life in Newmarket is very, very important to me also. One of the positions I mentioned was that I'm part of the Stratford Planning Commission. And through the commission, we are working on such things as getting a bike path from the Durham line over to the Newfield line. We're looking at doing something with the roadways, or trying to get the state, not we, but the state, to do something with the roadways between Durham and Newmarket. We're working with the town on trying to get a cross bridge for the mill area so that people won't have to cross the street and take, during the winter, etc. They'll be able to take a bridge across. So these are all the things that we've been working on, and I think it's very, very important that we maintain the living conditions in the town and make it better for all of us. There are money issues. I mean, we're not going to hide behind that. I said that in my opening statement. And unless we can find an offset to the needs of the town, then we're sort of hogtied as to what we can do. So we need to go after business to offset. If not, your property tax is going to go through the roof, or our property tax is going to go through the roof, and nobody wants that. Thank you.
John Bentley again. Much to the chagrin of my beautiful wife, I'll probably want to retire here and live here, and she'll probably be down in Florida. Now, that's a long-distance relationship, but I think we have a great quality of life here. I grew up on the river and spent a lot of time out in Great Bay and photographing animals and fishing and hunting and just spending a lot of time in Newmarket. We've done a great job, the Conservation Committee, private landowners and the town with the Loisel property, the Hilton property, the Carlton Fisk property. There's some great, this town is certainly, again, having been here, my whole life, has developed a lot more than what I like to have seen. I'd like to see more open space, but we have some really beautiful open spaces for people to go with their kids themselves, their animals. I think we need to continue to do that. My number one goal, I told them, was to keep taxes low as possible without, a huge dip in sacrifice in quality of services. I think we're blessed with the fire department we have, remembering that it's volunteer. I think we have a great police department. I think Chief Sia does a great job there. The rec department, my kids have used many of those programs. I think we probably have the best fishing derby, in America. I've been up there for many, many years, and it's a great thing that they do up there. I think you have to work really hard. Things don't happen by accident. We need to run the town like a business, and that's tough to do sometimes. But just keep it, everyone in mind, we're talking about councilors in the town. put the same attention in putting us in the school in the coming years, because we've done a great job, and it's before my time, I can't take credit for it, with the budget the last 2 years. This year, I had a little say in it last year. And now the school and the town need to work together, I think, more. Councilor Zink is pushing that really hard to try to pool resources, and that's where a lot of the tax rate's going, unfortunately, to the school. And we need to, rally around that and try to have the town council work with the school board and pool resources and do things to keep the taxes down, so we can keep the people in the town that want to be here and enjoy this quality of life that I think is so good. Thank you.
Jim Bergeron. Well, the Newmarket Town Council supports several events in Newmarket that help, I think, improve the quality of life. We support downtown businesses. We've recently improved the downtown, and as you know, that's quite an area for people to congregate and enjoy nowadays. We support festivals down there to help the downtown businesses, running races, farmers market, once again, the festivals. I'm on the Conservation Commission. We have several properties that are for residents to enjoy that we're constantly trying to improve. We just created a trail network on the Loisel property. We're trying to expand that this year. I'm involved with that with my sons and the Boy Scouts, etc. So that's how I'm personally trying to improve Newmarket. Walking is one of my important activities as well with my wife, and that's why I'm so pro sidewalk in town, because so many of our sidewalks are falling to pieces. My sons both walk to school, and they can tell you as well that they're getting in pretty bad shape. So I do maintain the want to improve our infrastructure and keep it maintained. I think we can forego certain expenses for a number of years, like paving, like we have been, but inevitably that's going to catch up to us. And so I think, though it's easy to cut back paving year in and year out and other infrastructure maintenance, ultimately it always is proven that it's more expensive in the long run to not keep up with it. So I am in favor of not cutting everything back to the quick. One last thing, as far as recreation, I'm against the dam removal proposal downtown, and one of the main reasons for that is that it provides a huge recreation area for our town. The impoundment behind that dam is quite large. It's used for hunting, I'm not sorry, hunting, but fishing, boating. It goes into other communities. It's a waterfront property for several homes, and I think that greatly improves the aesthetics of our downtown and in that area of town in general. So that's another thing that I think is important to the quality of life in Newmarket.
Not much left to say after all that, but I do know that there are a lot of great natural amenities in Newmarket, fishing, kayaking, boating. They go swimming down at Wadley Falls down the end of my street. They fish down at the Moonlight Bridge, and you can see them all the time up at Shanda Park that the conservation worked in coordinating with the Masons to put the Frank Shanda Park in. We actually have people up there that want to have their wedding pictures taken up there. It's such a beautiful site. We have art shows up at the Lamprey River, and of course the Heritage Festival. We do have a local business, run by Mr. Chaffee, that has several foot races in town now, which are very well accepted and very well attended. The recreation offers a lot of programs for their kids, and we also have a great group of volunteers for our youth activities in town. I mean, these are the things, quality of life in Newmarket. It's not just, you've got to really watch your tax base, but there's other things. You know, we do have a lot of conservation properties in town. My piece, I put 58 acres, New Hampshire Audubon now has ownership of it, and it would be great, the Loisel property, to get people out and to walk these properties. They're beautiful. You can still hunt. And Newmarket has also produced a great amount of Eagle Scouts. I believe Mr. Bergeron, your son, is an Eagle Scout as well. I know the Dave Walker's son down the road from me did his Eagle Scout. He painted all the fire hydrants. He color-coded them so the fire department would know the pressures in them. And Zachary Adamchek who no longer lives in town, he did his, I was on conservation at the time, and Robert Prune and a lot of fellows in the conservation helped him, I think, down at Tuttle Swamp, do his project. So we have a great youth in town, and I'd really like to know how many Eagle Scouts Newmarket has produced. I think it's a great tribute to the town that we have produced so many. And I'll leave something for Dan to say.
There is nothing to say, but I'll try. For me, the quality of life, I bike, I run, and I kayak. And I'm hoping now that we have the new bike shop in town, Mike's right, we can have a run, bike, paddle competition like they have in Portsmouth. But for me to get in the bay, where else can you see a bald eagle, a heron, bluebird, osprey, turkey, deer, and I can go on, right in our backyard. It's the community's backyard, and it's there for everyone to use. It's just amazing. We don't have a TV at home, but we do. We have a big picture window. My son calls it Nature Channel, and that's the only channel we get. That's all I have to say.
Great job.
He can help you there.
And the next question?
Uh-oh. Too much yard work, Chet, huh?
All right, I've listened to you, and you blew away all the questions I had previous written down. My main question here is going to be to stabilize the tax rate. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but there's one person who actually answered the type of question I'm looking for. And the question, like, for example, I'm going to say stabilize, and I do not see it myself as being stabilized in the future. And I would like to have a creative, I'm going to restate that, view and idea of how you would help us solve this problem by stabilizing this tax rate. Because what you've said so far tonight, I have not seen you say that. You've used the words, but I have not heard it. Because it's going to be the status quo the following year and the following year. I want something creative that's really going to work for us, especially us older folks. Now, one of you candidates has already stated, Mr. Levy, an idea of how he would go about doing this. I would like more of that creative approach from you. If you can't answer the question, you may pass. Thank you.
What did I say again? Help me out.
Stabilizing the tax rate.
You know, I was thinking about, and this may not totally answer your question, so I hope I don't disappoint you, but, you know, I think a town is built from the inside out, like the foundation of a house. And I think it's sad that sometimes people have to drive 20 and 30 minutes to do their shopping. And I don't mean anything negative, so I don't want to put any stores that are here, you know, I'm not putting anybody down, but a lot of people come to my store, go to Newington, as we all know, et cetera. And I think a bike store is nice. I think we should have, I know Dan's wife's a pediatrician. It would be nice to have a doctor in town. It would be nice to have basic services so people don't have to drive 20 and 30 minutes. And, you know, when I hear about all these large industrial complexes that people have thought would make all the difference for the town, you know, Newmarket is not in a metropolitan, high-density industrial area. It's a beautiful, small community, and it's a jewel of this area. I mean, I love this town. And from my perspective, I think we need to develop the downtown and go outward and have businesses come here and service this community and have people be able to stay within this community. And I don't want you not to come to my store, but, you know, maybe I have an annex if there's enough business to drive in this town. Because right now, there are very few places that people can go for those basic day-to-day goods and services. So, you know, I don't know if I got you there with being creative, but, you know, if I'm not creative enough having basic services, then maybe we should not have to be so creative. Maybe we should just get down to something simple and go from there out. And that's how I feel about it. Thank you.
Well, when you talk about tax rate, you're not just talking about municipal. You're also talking about school, you're talking about county. All three of those components equal your tax bill when you receive it. This past school election, this past school district meeting that we had, 9% of the registered voters elected to come out and vote. And after the balloting happened, your tax bill, as a result of that, is going to jump approximately 10% because of the votes that were taken, and it was fair. Those were the people that came out and they spoke. And as a result, your tax bill will jump approximately 10%. And so what would I do to help that situation? Perhaps I could be more influential and try to get more people to come out and vote. When you have 9% of 7,000 registered voters, it's a pretty sad story, but that happens in many communities. But in this particular community, it had over a 10% impact as a result of balloting. The other way you could stabilize your tax rate, of course, would be cut spending. Where do you cut? I think it certainly will be a topic. It always will be a topic for the council as the noose tightens and the budgets get tighter. And they will. They're going to get. It's going to be worse than it is now. There's no question about it. With all the things that are coming down the pike, it's going to face each and every small community. Many of them have already had to face it. We've kind of dodged the bullet a bit here so far, but the school certainly didn't with their $300,000 impact that they had to make adjustments to just recently. I personally would like to see some sort of a study done, and I hope it would not cost a lot of money to do it, to take a look at every employee in this community, every department, and to be 100% certain that we are not understaffed or overstaffed. There's always a question in my mind when you talk. Some town employees come up to you and tell you things. Now, whether they're disgruntled or trying to stir the pot, I'm not sure, but I hear from some people, and I don't know exactly what to think, whether this is 100% correct or not, but I certainly would like to investigate, be 100% certain that we are not overstaffed in this community. And of course, I'm only one person. It would take 4 people on the council to agree to that. If I'm elected, that would be something that I'll be bringing forth. Thank you.
Ed Carmichael. I would like to work with the Budget Committee to see what we could do to hold down the tax base. I would like to see all unnecessary spending cut and concentrate on the most important issues at the time. I would also like to see the Town Council and the School Committee form a committee. And maybe I've heard this talk. This isn't something I'm thinking up myself. I heard Dana Glennon in the past and other people in the town council speak about forming committee and seeing there's some way that they can cut costs with, instead of having one person buying for this department and another person buying for the school committee, try to bundle them up so you can get some power and purchasing power. I'm not quite sure how we purchase oil in this town. Perhaps, Jim and Bill can help us out on that one. But just to help cut some cost here, work with the Budget Committee and all these people. Thank you.
Rick McMenamin again. Several years ago, I was on the Budget Committee. And for those that were also on the committee or that were involved in the committee, I fought very, very hard to cut some of the overspending in the town. I tried to cut the overspending in the schools also. But you need a majority of people to agree with you. And, in some cases we could get it, in some cases we couldn't. I think we need to look at the number of people we have working in the town. That's always important. And again, to find out whether they're overstaffed or understaffed. Is it better to have a full-time group of people or a part-time group of people? These are all things that need to be looked at. And the other thing is, I have to go back to what I said earlier. If these other businesses are available to come into the town, and the Black Bear TIF was there and doing their job, where were those kind of businesses being looked at then, and why not now?
Good question, Mr. Jablonski. I don't know how creative I am, but I think I touched a couple of things earlier, and I can't tell you a value of it. I know the Wilson property is double-digit acres, I think 16 or 18, and somebody somewhere will pay something for it. And right now, we pay to mow it and maintain it, and we, for years and years, because of Mr. Dixon, decided to buy that. We don't get anything out of it. I would say sell it and give the money back to the taxpayers, or lease it, or maybe a business can go there. That's an area, it's not the hugest area. We have a small little property on 108 that we decided to buy. I think that generates some type of tax dollar, which could be tax relief. The town, prior to my coming here, did a great job, the councilors and the administrator. We get our electricity from Quebec. That saved money substantially over what public service was charging. They've worked with Mr. Coffey and Mr. Walker and I've been part of this over this last year on changing out lights, which is saving money. Makes them a little dimmer, but not enough to the naked eye, and they're on less. On the Energy Committee, which we've just kind of started and rejuvenated, and we've talked with them recently about solar things where number one, where the town can save money, which means taxpayers. And we also just had a meeting a couple weeks ago with a group where individual homeowners can look into solar, and that's going to be on the Channel 13 site, and there's going to be some things left at the library certainly soon, but we're trying to generate where it's kind of a bond-raising event. People go, and I might go help do Councilor Bergeron's house, and then we go and do Rick's house, and but anyway, it's kind of a neat idea. There's a company out of Plymouth started it, and anyway, so I think you have to think outside of the box. We have properties we're not using. I think I said earlier, you need to run a town like a business and make some tough calls and ask the tough questions. And certainly if there are businesses out there, whether it's at the TIF area or up on 152 area or even a smaller area next to Houghton's, that's been on and off, and there's some business that can come there and come in and help relieve us. There's 9,500 people in this town, yet there's only 3,000 properties, so we have a lot of renters, and I know that puts a heck of a burden on the property owners. And yes, the people that own the buildings that the renters rent from pay taxes, but they don't pay like a homeowner pays, and they're using the same school and the same police and the same fire. So, I'm preaching to the choir, I'm sure to a lot of you, but as a homeowner, we're paying a brunt of a lot of it. So, thank you.
Jim Bergeron, Mr. Jablonski, I don't think there's anything that we can do that's going to be creative. I think it's just doing, the old standard, which is to bring business to town. We can still bring more business to town by supporting and creating any kind of opportunity we can to make our Newmarket more amenable than other towns. I can't tell you what that would be at the moment. Conservation of town buildings, energy conservation. We're looking into energy conservation savings, cutting costs, and trying to keep the budget as low as we possibly can. Obviously, salaries are a large part of that, and staffing. I think after going through the budget this year that there isn't a lot of fat in the budget. I think we've cut back about as many expenditures as we can and still keep the town running. There's basic needs that we have to provide to the town, and we've been doing that. Once again, I think bringing business to town is really going to be the only thing that's going to help our tax base. We are working with the schools. Mr. Carmichael's suggestion that a committee be formed to investigate group buys, for instance, paper goods, energy and fuel oil and all. Believe me, that has been looked into, and Mr. Alzink, one of our counselors, has been doing a fantastic job with that, and we're making headway in that regard. But we are exploring many different avenues. Like I said, from energy conservation to ridding ourselves of unnecessary lands and looking at our salaries. That's pretty much what we've been doing.
In regards to new businesses, I believe the 3 North Main Street that Nick owns from the Durham Bookstore is going to be coming back to Planning Board. They were able to acquire some land behind them, so the wetland mitigation that they had to deal with would be now behind them, and they'll be able to go forward with the project as planned, which would be great. It is going to be a grocery store, which is wonderful, and a few other stores with it. Our rec department does have great programs, but this year at the budget, they discussed maybe putting in tennis courts and a new gymnasium. I know there's been talk about maybe refurbishing this downstairs. There's a lot that we could do in town. Mr. Bentley referred to the high rentals we have in town. The norm for a small New Hampshire town like ours is 15% rental. Newmarket has close to 54% rentals. And, to have more properties put in that are just rentals, if you have the same property that's a rental and the same exact property that's a condo, you're going to get more tax base from a condo. So that's something that I hope the planning board would look at whenever they approve anything. And condos are harder to sell now, but it's something to look into. Julie Glove has been doing a pretty good job, I think. Health insurance for the town, everybody has a hard time dealing with that and paying. It's a big expense for the town. I believe they have a slightly larger deductible and a larger copay, which is great. I still don't think it's up to the norm of other communities. And they do have something in their personnel policy that I find very upsetting. They have a policy that if you're just cohabitating with somebody, it doesn't have to be a same-sex or anything, marriage. If you are just cohabitating with somebody and you can prove that you have been cohabitating and living with this person, if you're an employee of the town, that person that you're just living with, without a marriage certificate, is entitled to health insurance. And I find that appalling, and I voiced my opinion about that when I was a town councilor. I think each department, when they come before the Budget Committee and the Town Council regarding their budget, I think they should all try to reduce their budget by 5 or 10%. I mean, we just have to cut down. We have to look into maybe an audit of all the departments, see where money's going that is being spent wisely and that's not being spent wisely. Do we have any types of procedures in town that are not being done properly that cost the town more money in insurance, in disability, and so forth? Something like that should be checked into. And we can't cut too much. We have gas prices and oil that we have to have, but I just think a few of those things would be helpful to be serious and to really stick to it and make sure everybody holds the line, just like you have to do in your own home. Thank you.
Mr. Jablonski, you did see creative? This is, yes, just this simple piece of paper here that I'm holding in my hand. Are we buying, the different departments buying it from the most convenient delivery, or are we going to someplace like Staples?
Mason.
And at our office, we'll watch every penny. We're actually writing on free paper from paper that we bought. That may seem silly, just a simple piece of paper, but if each department really looked and we could buy collectively, let's say we save $1,000, $2,000, that's not a lot. But with just from a simple piece of paper, saving $2,000, what else do you think we can find that we can save? Creative.
Mr. Jablonski, it's already been talked about the town versus the school. If you look over the last couple of years, the town's portion of the tax rate's actually going down. So it has gone down. So I think that I give the last couple of councils all the credit, and the last couple of budget committees a lot of credit for what they've done to stabilize tax rates in this town. So I echo the ideas of trying to work with the school district closer and find ways to bundle services. I think that's a smart idea for sort of preserving both natural resources as well as stabilizing the tax base in this town. But I'm going to question the premise of the question, because one of the premises of the question is things are getting harder. So, and I realize that in this country and in the world right now, things are getting harder, but the only way recovery is ever going to come about is by people like us doing. I firmly, firmly believe that. We can wait for someone to come from on high and all of a sudden declare the economy recovered and people back in jobs, or we can roll up our sleeves as a group of individuals, as a community, and help bring ourselves out of this. And it's going to be communities like us all working together as communities to bring ourselves out of this, that is really going to bring an end to the harder times that we say we're facing right now. So, and that's one of the things I loved about Newmarket, and one of the reasons I moved here. As much as I love the natural beauty, Cynthia, I love the fact that the people I meet in Newmarket and the people that are from Newmarket are doers. And they're people that want to do and want to work, and that it's one of the things that makes this town so special and so dear to my heart. So what would a creative solution I would come up with? We've talked about trying to bring more business in. I would say we need to go back and look at what the fundamental role of government is, and I firmly believe that government is here to protect personal property rights and allow individuals to do with the fruit of their own labor and their property what they will, as long as they also maintain the cultural integrity of the town and streamline the process for what it's going to take to bring private sector businesses in here. Three of the top 10 employers in this town are the SAU, the town, and McDonald's. That is, you know what I'm saying? This town was founded on business. The mills made this town, so we need to do everything we can to bring industry back, the roots of this town back, and make this town great again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next. Back.
To answer your question, where you say it was a tough question, well, tough people make tough stands. That's what I have to say with that. I have another question also in regards to the council, the people we plan on electing on this council. In watching some of the debates on television in regards to, for example, Article 2, which states that that's the bond issue on bonding the McIntosh well. I'm not going to read the whole article, but as I watch this on television, I hear nobody talk about the goals of the community. What are the goals? What are the objectives? Where's the time limits? What about Plan B? There's no communications with the taxpayers. So that when I look at this article, I say, well, what is this? Well, it's $3,370,250 gross budget on this particular warrant article. Another councilor says, well, TIF's going to cost $3-point-something million to get it ready for business or whatever. I'm saying, where are the goals? Where's the town going? You say it's a great community to live in, but the older people are saying, you know what? It's getting tough to live here, pal. And I'm talking tough. Answer those questions, please. Are there goals for the town? If there are goals, tell us their goals, and tell us why these goals aren't brought up while you're debating a particular situation in the community, like this article or other articles.
I'm not sure how to answer your question, and you've asked this question repeatedly at different forums, and I don't believe you ever have received the answer that you were looking for. I am not a sitting member of the town council, so I am not sure what their goals, their current goals are. Perhaps one of them, as we get to the two councilors on the end, could elaborate on that. We do certainly need goals, but as far as that McIntosh well, Chet, that's all I can say is it's been an ongoing situation for probably as much as 15 years. We've been looking for another source of water. They found one now. I think the question is out there is, does it need to be filtered or not? I do not believe the bonding authority given to the town council, they will squander it and go build a facility out there that would take impurities out of water that's not there. I don't think they would ever do that. I know they would not do that. I don't know of any council that would ever vote to do anything like that. So we need the water source, and I really can't answer your question. I know no one else has been able to either, but that's all I have.
Okay.
As far as the Macintosh wells, I only know what I've seen on TV like the rest of you, read in the papers. I haven't been privy to any of the paperwork or any of the facts or walked the land like I believe everybody has. I've heard the water commissioner, talk on TV, but I would need to study some reports, Chet, to give you anything on that. But let me just move on a little bit, and we've used this term, need to stabilize the tax rate. We've got to be more consistent in this town, need to prioritize the necessary items one at a time, and got to hold the bottom line. I guess that's the best way I can answer that for you. I'm not sure that helps.
Chet, I think, Rick McMenamin again, I think that there is no plan, at least not that I'm aware of. And perhaps there should be a plan. I think it's a good idea. I know that the town council members every year are asked to put together an objective for each of them to do. But I don't know of anybody who sat down and established a plan for the town for the future. Years ago when I lived out in the Poconos and I was in a gated community, we established a long-range planning group to sit down and establish plans for the future of the community. The long-range plan could be 5 years, 10 years. Tomorrow could be a long-range plan in some cases. But we tried to establish and had people look at some of the needs of the community and prioritize what was needed. And it worked very well, and I think that's something we can look forward to doing here, because I think it's a good idea. The McCallum well, I've heard the same discussions everybody else has. I've heard some objections from people, some questions were raised, and so I can't answer what the future of that is. Right now, I think that there's some more investigation that has to be done before we spend $3 billion.
John Bentley, because of the unfortunate departure of Councilor Dickens last year, I came in right after the vote, a couple weeks. So I don't know if there were goals right at the beginning from everyone. We had goals of trying to tie up the water and sewer issue. The sewer is being dictated by the EPA. We don't really have a lot of say in that. They tell you there's blank millimeters of nitrogen allowed per liter, and that's what it's going to be. What several of us on the council have done is contact our state legislators, representatives, and try to see what fundings are out there, and also try to have them push with the EPA to lengthen the time and ask for more studies. I don't think we're going to find any magic bullet with one thing. It's going to be a combination of things. Our clerk does a great job informing us of what's happening. Recently, the NADA, the Auto Dealer Association, wants to allow you more ease of registering your vehicles, and that's the second highest income for this town, is registrations. And by this, you would go to, the local dealership, which there's not a Newmarket, and they would collect the fees there, and the town will get some of the fees back, but it would be very labor intensive. So some of the things that I've done, and I know some of the other councils have done, is follow up on these things and call our legislators. I talked to all three of them last week about the vote for this NADA thing. On the pension fund, the midnight hour when everyone's worked so hard to do the budgets, and then, oops, Newmarket, you have to spend $200,000 more because the pension fund is out. I contacted 7 different people. Again, our town clerk does a great job, trying to watch the penny and letting us know what can happen in this town. And I think a combination of all the different things is where we need to go with the land that we're not using, with looking at budgets, with looking at personnel. And I can say the last 11 months, I think we've tried to do a pretty good job of that. And I think the long-term plan should come from the people. And some people have approached me the last year, and I've tried to bring their ideas forward. Didn't always get them the answers they wanted, but I never once just blew them off, whether I agree with them or not. I would go and ask the question, I'd bring it up, I'd get have issues put on the agenda a couple times. Someone sitting right up here asked for an issue to be on the agenda, and I get it on the agenda. So I think it's going to be a combination of things we need to do, and I agree there should be a long-term plan, and I haven't been part of one in the last 11 months. Thank you.
Chet, you asked for goals, and I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. I guess if you mean like a vision of the future. Yes, go ahead.
Some of you haven't really hit upon it. A goal can be changed. Can be changed from year to year. It can be a 1-year goal, can be a 2-year goal, can be a 3-year, could be a 5-year goal. But it's up to you to see to the people on that particular year that you're going to ask them to pay a tax, that met the goal. If you didn't meet the goal, then it could possibly go back to the next year. We should know that. If I want to sit there and vote on something for $3 million plus, I want to say, where does that fit in the goals for the community? That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to put you on a spot. I'm saying we don't have a plan that tells the taxpayers on how they're going to vote on this particular article. If I look at it and I say, where does that fit into the goals of the community for this year or in 5 years? You don't say anything about that.
Yes, in the answer to that.
All right?
In answer to that, we do have goals. We do have council goals. It's basically a spreadsheet, if you will, that we're constantly addressing the different goals on that. One of them, and then they're by order of priority. And water system, of course, is almost number one. Sewer treatment. We have budget and CIP update that we need to be working on. Personnel policy updates, updating the town charter. We get weekly updates from the administrator on those goals. I don't know if that answers your question as far as an overall goal, but I think it's been said that water is one of our big goals that we've been working on this year. And I know that you were one that said in the past that you wanted to see a step system, a goal system for the water plan. Well, believe it or not, that's what we did. We got the consultants to tell us, because we've had engineers tell us what we need to do, but we had so many different opinions from so many different angles. We needed to hire somebody to come in and look at all the information with a professional eye, because we're not professional water engineers, and tell us what to do. And we did that. And now they've given us a timeline and specific goals to follow to achieve the goal, which is to get better water. How do we treat it? Which wells and properties do we buy? What lines do we upgrade? That's the kind of things we're working on. So as far as goals, we do set goals and try to meet them. As far as, I guess, monetary goals, I'm not quite sure what still not quite sure what you're saying. Unfortunately, I don't think I understand the question.
Let me put it this way. If I went to the office and I asked the business office in the town, I'd like to see the goals of the community for 2011. Would I get them?
You could give us.
Would I get them?
Yes
or no? Yeah, would I get them?
I guess, do you get our council goals?
Do you know? Do you know? I want goals, written goals of how this is going to be objectively done and with some time limits. Is that going to be out there if I want to go get it?
We spent all our time writing up a sheet saying when we're going to need goals.
Time?
We would never get to the ones that we need.
Mr. Bergeron, all our time?
Well, it takes a long time to...
No, it doesn't take a long time. That's part of running a community.
But I think we're doing
it in order... taxpayers where their money's going.
I think we're trying to address the goals as in an order of need.
I'd like to see them in writing.
In order of...
You're right.
Spreadsheet. I have a spreadsheet. You may look at our spreadsheet. It's not a secret document.
All set?
Actually, Val, I think, could answer that as far as a master plan.
To answer Ms. Chet's your question as to why this article is there, I believe the warrant articles occur as the needs of the town are determined. They said we need more water, which we do. I mean, I think our reservation is 35,000 gallons extra, from the town planner, and that's probably going to be eaten up by the development of the mill. So if we have a drought, we're in deep trouble. So the water came up. Should we put the filtration system? I believe that filtration system will be the first of its kind in New Hampshire, and that's doubling the price from a little over $1.5 million to close to $3 million. Do we really need that? Mr. Fillion doesn't think we do. I think the town, like the lady over there suggested, we do have the master plan. Chapter 6 tells us what the economic development plan is, and it's important that the town follow that. The town council does set goals, not just a spreadsheet, but they set goals. I don't know what they have set and what they've accomplished, but that is something I think you could request from the town administrator. I believe you have to start at the top. You have to be proactive. We, town council members and the town administrator, are the ones who should be determining what the goals are. You know, it's great to have the rec fields with all the new fields and the lights and so forth and so on, but you have to really determine what the town needs, put it in writing, and get it done. And I have to agree with you that I don't believe that's been done over the years. I know it's been close to 3 years. I don't even know if we have the generator up at the school yet because of that problem we had with the ice storm. There was talk about putting a generator up at the school so we could have showers and so forth for people in need and to house people during an emergency. I don't know if that's been accomplished yet. We've got to look back into the impact fees. I don't know if the planning board, maybe Val can talk to that, if the impact fees are being reviewed. Mr. Mayberry did those, I think, well over 10 years ago. We haven't had much development in town, so we haven't got many impact fees coming in that could help in any way, shape, or form. But I think some type of goal should be written up and adhered to, in some type of, if it takes time, it takes time. I think that's something that the council should be charged with, and the town administrator, and it should be done. And they should become very proactive in it.
Thank you. Dan?
I think you get me right, but one of the goals is you're worried about your taxes. They keep going up, and go up. They've never gone down since you've lived in this town, correct? Right. So one of the things for, everyone's talking about commercial. Well, no, but I'm just saying for commercial end to have your taxes come down. Let's write what we want for commercial space in town, commercial buildings in town. Put that up there. Every year, every quarter, we want, let's say we want 100,000 in the next 5 years. Well, there's nothing being built. Ask why. Why aren't they being built? Why aren't our goals being made? What is wrong? Why we can't get it in? I think, the last commercial building put up in this town. I know the mill's getting some commercial building there, but the last commercial building. So set the goal. I don't know if I'm answering, but no. All right. Yeah.
We don't pass.
Go ahead, pass.
All right. Second to last shot. Here we go. I know I'm going to fail, Mr. Jablonski. I'm sorry. So what I hear you saying, and what I would agree with, that what I'm hearing, which may or may not be what you're saying, is that if you look at how a business is run, you have to look long term. You have to look 5-10 years out. Say, what is your vision? And then from looking at that long-term vision for where do I want this organization, where do I want this town to be, what do I want it to look like, you then break it down to intermediate goals and long-term goals, and then metrics that you measure those objectives by to see that if you're on track for what you want the town to look like to achieve that long-term vision. So I would agree that any effective organization needs that, be it a town or a company. You absolutely need to have that. You need to have a vision, and then your ability to metric whether or not you're achieving that. So with, did I pass? All right, yeah. Bill Mazzaro, 6 Bay Road. No. So without being able to say what the long-term vision is, it's not only hard, but quite impossible to say, these are the goals that I'm using to metric achieving that long-term vision. Hence the question, correct? I mean, I could explain a vision that I have, but we'd have to agree as a council on to what those goals would be that you use to metric achieving that vision.
Every council should have that vision. It should be written down with objectives and
Okay.
time limits.
We're going to move on. We've got about 10 minutes left. Yes, you can. Just
I probably shouldn't. I should stop all that. You know, I think, I have not been on the council, and I think I would make a good counselor because I make these types of decisions every day, and what you're really talking about is priorities, Chet. And in my business, and I can't speak, I'm sorry. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I can't speak for the council because I have not been involved at the council level. I know there's water, sewer issues, et cetera. What I can say is, when I watch the council meetings, and I like softball, and I love the church, and I love the clock, and I see 250 grand go for lights at a ballpark, and I see 10 grand go to the church for the clock, and I'm not against any of that. But I think maybe we could raise the money. I think we could raise the money. Well, I meant the clock out there. You know, I think you can have a fundraiser for that. I think you can do some fundraisers for those things. I personally do not think government makes business. If that worked, we would be out of this recession now because there are trillions of dollars that we have spent. So with all due respect, nobody ever bailed me out or gave me money to make my business run. I had to make decisions. I'm hearing a lot of that tonight, and it's frustrating for me, but and I don't want to alienate people, but with all due respect, you have to live within your means. You have to prioritize. And I will just close by saying, you know, when that property that everybody keeps talking about was sold, it was sold at about $8,000 an acre, well under market value. They were supposed to do the infrastructure. They were supposed to build the stuff. Then the town's going to go build the stuff. And that's not a world I've been part of, okay? I believe in making it not burdensome for business, but I believe in priorities, and I'll leave it at this before you shut me down. You know, if I had a sewer issue at my house, and I had a toilet running, and I had water that wasn't clean, I wouldn't be doing a home theater system as much as I'd like to sell you one, okay? I'd be fixing my water and my sewer. And that's no disrespect to anybody who's worked on the town water and sewer issues, because I know they're very difficult to come to conclusion. Obviously, it's been going on for 10 years or longer. But I think priorities have to be made. And when I see certain expenditures, I say, you know, 250 grand's real money to me. And I believe in sports, and I believe in all that. And I could go on, but I won't because you're going to tell me I'm done, so I'm done.
Okay, in the interest of quality, we've got 5 minutes, 6 minutes left. Time for one more question with 1 minute answers, or 2 more questions with 30-second answers. Which do you
Okay.
prefer?
Let's go for the Actually, 30. I don't have any questions.
Oh, okay.
I have comments, so you guys can all rest easy. I would like to thank the Newmarket Business Association for putting this on tonight, because I think people need to be informed of the people, the candidates on all boards, not just town council, that are running for this town. And I'm happy with the turnout tonight, and I hope that we have more than 9% show up for voting. I think we will. I commend the last group of town councilors. It was very nice not to be in the newspaper for different things that were happening with the town council. It's very embarrassing to go out of town and be comments, what the heck is going on in your town? As far as something else going on in town, driving through, I work a mile away from home, banking, work. I have noticed some political signs that have been missing, 1 or 2 in particular. I'm not saying any of you guys are doing it, and maybe your friends, or I just think that's wrong. These people have spent good money, I don't even know how much they are, but their money out of their pockets to put these signs up, and I just think it's a crying shame that somebody is doing this.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Rocky. It's illegal.
Well, when it's taken off of private property, and I had my husband, I said, is my sign still out there? And it was. And
Okay,
it better
thank
be
you,
there
Rocky.
tonight, too.
And next. I kicked you out.
Barbara Briggs, 20
Yes.
Chapel Street.
Hi, Barbara.
Hi. I'd like to say I'm really impressed that Newmarket has such a great group of people coming out. I've got to say I disagree with some of you violently, but I'm really impressed that you're here.
Good job.
Two, and you can check me on this, but I believe there was a period of time when rental property was taxed at a lower rate than a homeowner's, which may be why we have so many rentals. You can check that out. But under the creative area, is there some reason we have 2 elections? Lots of small towns have 1 election, and they do the school board and the town council. Can't we do it all at once?
Chet, you've been on a couple of times, the man in the blue shirt down the back? Oh, I didn't see it. I'm
Dave
sorry.
Bird, Smith Garrison Road.
Yep.
I'd like to comment on the sign issue. I wasn't going to say anything tonight, but the
But
lovely
Rocky
young
brought it
lady
up.
stood up and said something. Our town code enforcement officer took down signs today at the behest of the town administrator, perhaps in violation of RSA 664:17, which allows every one of these gentlemen and ladies to put signs on property within the right-of-way if it's permission of the owner. But it was done today for the first time in my memory as a
I think I'd be
resident.
on the phone in the morning to the town administrator if that is your... Okay, he wants to comment on
Okay,
it.
and I think anybody else that's been a long-time member of this town knows of no instance where the code enforcement officer or anybody has taken voting signs down. And the town did it this time.
This will be 15 seconds. We lost 19 signs today. I'm sorry, can I speak?
Go ahead, 19 seconds.
It'll be 10, well, we lost 19 signs today. We asked the homeowners if it was okay to put them up. We were given the green light. I was disappointed in that, and I frankly would like to see signs of all these people. I mean, this is a democracy, and I don't think Town Hall should be making and trying to pick winners and losers, and it really offended me and bothered me whether I win or lose. And that's how I feel.
Valerie?
10-second answers to this question?
Sure.
It's talked a lot tonight about increasing businesses in town and increasing the tax base, et cetera, in a positive manner. One of the planning board is in the process of updating the economic development chapter of the master plan. After that, it goes through many public comments sessions and through the council for approval and adoption. Zoning will be the next step as far as updating zoning for the business districts in town. One of the key tools the planning board was able to use in order to facilitate the development of the mills was special use permits and conditional use permits so that they didn't have to go through the variance process. I would like to know the candidates' positions on, as the planning board sets forth new regulations for the business districts in town that would include flexibility for the planning board to grant these approvals under special use permits or conditional use permits if those types of zoning methods would be acceptable, or what your comments would be regarding your support of that.
I started last time.
He wants to pass.
I was on the planning board, and I do want to mention, the planning board was also looking at impact fees, as I was questioned, before. I would highly support anything that the planning board puts forth in regards to that. And you've got to understand, before any changes go through on any rule or regulation, it has to come to you, the town. You have an opportunity to speak on it.
Okay, Rick?
Ms. Sheldon, I think it would have to be a case-by-case basis, and hopefully, the best interest of the town. I don't know, again, I'm not sure how it would happen. If there would be a public hearing, I would hope, each case-by-case should say they're looking for a special exception for this case because of blank, and not to have more hearings than we need, but I almost think the public would need to have some input. I wouldn't want to say carte blanche, everything's okay, free, change everything, but I certainly think we need to be flexible enough to allow some business to come here.
Quickly, pretty much the same thing. I think we need the flexibility to, make quick decisions and I certainly trust the planning board and the decisions they've made, so I would certainly continue to support that.
Roseanne?
Oh, I'm sorry. I agree with Val. I was on the planning board for close to 4 years, and we do have conditional use situation with the B3 business district up at the end of Wadley Falls, and they didn't just utilize that for the mills. I believe the mill rezoning was also with conditional use, but we also utilized 79E for the mills, which allowed them to defer taxes for so long in order to procure their mortgage money to build the mills up. But I probably would be in favor of some more special use and conditional use. I mean, I think we have a good planning board up there, and I'm sure that they would take the best interest of the town. In effect, it does give them more levity to get a business in that doesn't fit the thing. Okay.
Well, I think that'd be a great idea. It's being very proactive, and that's what this town needs, proactive.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would be an outstanding idea to continue that. The planning board are elected officials, and we absolutely should give them the leeway to do that.
I would need to get more up to speed, Val, truthfully, because I don't know all the nuances to that, but I would be for making it less difficult for businesses. The only thing I would say is I understand 79E was being conceived for the master plan. I sort of feel that 79E is something that the town should use when it needs to. I don't know that I would make that part of a policy document, but that is just my personal opinion. I do not think it belongs in a master plan. But that's just my personal opinion, and some other people have told me the same things. Thank you.
My feeling is not a carte blanche authority, but on a case-by-case basis, and we certainly need to do more than we've done in the past to have businesses move into this community. We need to expand that tax base, and that certainly would be one way we would maybe be successful in doing that.
I too would support Val and her comrades in anything that had to be pushed through. That I have enough faith in Val we trust, and I from what I've seen on TV, that's Channel 13, is that the planning board seems to be doing a pretty super job. Thank you.
Okay, and as an outsider, because I do live in a different town than I work in, I can say that I am very blessed to be able to be working in Newmarket and to know a lot of people within the Newmarket community. And you are great people coming out here tonight and showing interest in your town. These people that are running for town council, they're serving you. And I think they find joy from listening to the answers tonight. They all find joy in serving you. So if you ever have any issues, concerns, questions, feel free to pick up the phone. I'm sure they're only a phone call away from each and every one of you. So thank you all for very much for coming out tonight. Make sure you support our seniors and enjoy the rest of your evening.